You found your way to Blood Moon Radio. I'm Coraley, and this is where we follow the threads the world wants us to drop. Today we're talking about what it means to journey home, not out into the world, but inward. In this conversation with Melanie Jolicoeur, we touch on self-love, toxic ties, and the kind of stability that can only come from within. Welcome to another episode of Blood Moon Radio. Today I am joined by the vibrant Melanie Jolicoeur, also known as Azea Yoga. She is joining us all the way from Mexico. How's it going, Melanie?
It's going pretty well. Lots of sun, beautiful day. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm excited. It was surprising because we've spent time together when you lived here. And when I was reading your bio and reading some of the interviews you've done, I was like, I don't remember hearing this story. I don't know why. Maybe you told me I was pregnant at the time. And so, pregnancy brain. But I was like, I don't remember hearing about a walk through a Moroccan desert. And you've been very nomadic too. And I feel like I should have known that.
It's funny, oftentimes I live in a place and when I leave, people starts to follow my journey and then they start to understand where I was coming from and where I'm going. So yeah, all of the stories are a part of the experience we had. They don't make us who we are in a sense that I'm not identifying myself as the past or the future. Like here and now, it's always, a different moment, but they do bring you some experience that makes you open up to a lot of things.
You described in your intake forms the walk through the Moroccan desert as a turning point for you. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How does one end up on a silent walk in the Moroccan desert? Can we start there?
I think that was kind of a moment in my life where I became kind of the yes man,
Yeah.
say yes to whatever comes to you. And yeah, actually everything started the morning where I separated from a relationship and then I decided to choose myself. And I remember being in the basement of my parents' house and saying, okay, what do I really want? Who am I and what's really the desire of my heart? And it's for some reason, there was nothing really clear coming up at this moment, but I had the worst day, where everything breaks and it's just like, why? you know? And all of these things brought me to my phone breaking into a store. And in that store, I met someone was a long discussion with this man and he was about to die. Actually, his heart was working 30% and he decided that before he died he would people on his road that he liked their energy and asked them what's their wish. And I just thought maybe he just wants to inspire me to understand more about what I want. So I said to him, I really wish to be on the water right now and peacefully because I've been raised on sailing boats and my dad was a sailorman, my mom too. And so we spent a lot of time on sailing boats, living on it. So I just want to go back and living there and have a moment for myself. And he says, well, maybe you need to do your cards to sail a boat by yourself with a 40-foot boat. I said, yeah, that would be amazing, actually. So I built a plan. I came back to see him. I said, no, your gift to me is to allow my gift to you. And he just gave me a check of the whole amount it was to do this project. And I was just like, I never
Wow.
kind of give. So it was kind of like, it was hard to receive, but at the same time, I was like, if I wasn't in his position, money doesn't mean a thing. I'm dying, and I want to think it would be amazing for people to receive it. So I decided to receive it. And so I end up on a boat sailing across all the British Virgin Islands and getting those cards. And right after, when I spoke with one of my friends, I was like, I want to do a retreat in the desert of Morocco. And I want people to walk in silence, but I need to test it on someone. Can I use you? And so, yes, man was there again. So I said yes. So I left with him and we did the whole trek and the whole silent walk and meditation and hypnosis and everything. And there's really something very special about the desert, it's just you and silence. And at the beginning, it can be scary to be in silence because there's so much that can come up. But at the same time, this is where you meet yourself, this is where your raw, authentic you is, where I started to feel, started as a thought And then a few days after the silence, it become really in the body. And it was all about, I want to understand this human experience in another on another level. And I want to know what's out there in the world other than what I know here in the conventional system, in the conventional hospitals. And because I just came out from a place where, people in my family had just died. So I wanted to understand, like, why are we so sick? And all of I made this decision at this point, I didn't know I would just go as a nomadic lifestyle for a long time. I just thought, I'm going to leave for a few weeks, and a few weeks became 12 years now. So silence has been a beautiful teacher for me, and it still is.
Something that I'm struck by as you're talking is we all grow up in what we're supposed to do in society, and you're supposed to find stability, you're supposed to worry about money, and then you meet this person who's at the end of their life who's like, no, it's this other thing, and here's my money, it doesn't mean anything. And at the same time, you're going through this process where you say you're the yes girl, you're going to say yes to things. And it seems like it led you to a more fulfilling life than all the things that we're told are going to fulfill you or are necessary to be fulfilled, which is very interesting.
When you say stability, what comes up to me is there's a way that society does find stability in houses and work. And for me, finding stability inside of me, in instability outside of me constantly, has been much more profound than finding stability in material world. And so this life brought me to understand stability, inner stability, much more than outer stability. Money aspect and the yes man thing came because after seeing these people I love dying, I felt like if I got one more day, all the fear, the conscious fear went away. And I was like, you know what, even if I die, I still had one more week than my best friend, than my dad, than my stepmom, I didn't have fear anymore. I just was jumping and trusting that the net will catch me. And if it doesn't catch me, then it's okay. I still got one more week than this person,
Yeah.
So we live like we never gonna die. When you witness death and you're like, what if it was me and I could die next month, or what? How would I live differently? What would be very important to me?
Yeah.
There's so many things that we worry about, that we make such a big story about it, and identification, it has to be this way, it has to be, and it really doesn't. When it's not that complicated to change place and to choose what you want for you. But the thing that's dangerous is when you don't know you.
Yeah.
You live accordingly to what other people wants you to, or what you think is right accordingly to them. This is what's more dangerous to me. And so for me, getting out of the place where I was and disidentifying myself to everything I thought I was allowed me to find really what was living inside of me. And because I've changed countries so many times, where you dress differently, where you transport yourself differently, when you eat differently, different language, different everything. So I always was, disidentifying myself, of unbecoming everything instead of becoming something. And by unbecoming everything, you find what is truly there. I think it's a different process, and you don't need to travel the world to do it. You can travel inside out, going at the grocery store, depending on how you want to identify yourself and what secures you. But if what secures you is the house you have, and is your title, and is a relationship, and it's everything outside of you, I think that's a bit more challenging. Life is, if your identification is just like, I'm just a pure, beautiful soul having a human experience, exploring life, playing, realizing I'm waking up today, and how I really enjoy all of the potential in me in this day, and serve with my gift. What's my gift?
Well, and when we're talking about the relationship or the house or the stable job, all those things can go away at any time, right? Then you're always dependent on your identity or your worth being attached to this thing that you have no control over. But you do have control over how you view yourself and how you love yourself, and, how you experience yourself in your life, if you're brave enough to take it.
I know what you mean, in the sense that you do choose how you want to embrace each minute and be grateful for it, and not be a victim of life. I believe that we make so much limitation from what we've taught. And you mentioned just before the money aspect and everything. And most people are like, how do you do it? Why are you always like somewhere going? And how do you manage to buy these plane tickets or to do that, you
Yeah.
know? And the thing is, I don't live for my things, work for my things. People will have two cars, a house, a cottage, a boat, so much things that we have to pay. And in different country, of course, it's more expensive. Me, I chose to go live in a place at the beginning. I spent 7 years in Asia. And, I remember at one point just doing the maths with a friend, and she was like, oh my God, like, how much do you make a year? And how much do I make a year? Okay, so she was making $120,000 a year, and I was making another amount, and it was like, let's just take it from the month, and she was taking the month, and at the end of the month, what she was making and her expense, we had the same amount at the end, but she was working 80 hours a week. I was working 15, and we ended up with the same amount because of the cost of life,
Yeah.
Well, it's not that you cannot have those luxurious life and everything. You can have it all. But for me to start, I wanted to have time to live, because into the living, I could find out more who I was and what was living inside of me. And then I wanted my work to be aligned with me and my gift. So it's never a day of work. It's a day of passion. It's a day of enjoying what I love doing. I never want to go work and be like, shit, I don't want to go work, because I
Yeah.
hate it. To find out what was really a passion for me, I needed to find time to find out who I was. And for this, lifestyle was priority for me. Know who I was, find out my gift, take some time for that. So in this environment of having not too much, of a expensive life, and then as soon as you start living like this, for the first year I was living like this, when you get up super early, you walk on the beach, you get some sun energy, you get some sea energy, you get some grounding energy, then you go train with a bunch of people that are living like this too. And then after, you go to work into your little casita, because it's too hot outside anyway in Thailand. And then after, in the evening, you go for a massage, and then another walk on the beach, nice food everywhere. And then you come back home, walk a little bit, and go to bed. That I was like, now that I know that, I actually don't want to go to anything else, So it started this way. And money at the beginning was something that I saw very differently. And I had to also create relationship with it, because I was angry about the piece of paper that was deciding for me. I was like, he's not going to decide for me.
Yeah.
I had to make a peace with that, and it changed along the year. And now I live it with a bit more abundance. At the beginning, I would say the first 8 years, I would have maybe $500 in my account, and I was traveling around the world. It's possible. Everything is possible. It's just research. There's so much out there to do it. So money is not something that should break you if you want to go and live abroad, or if you want to do something else. Some people sometimes say, when I'll retire, I'll go live where I want to live, how I want to live. If you want to do that before you retire, please let me know. I'll help you find out how, because it's not that difficult, and you don't need
Yeah.
that big amount to do it.
When I was younger, I'm very type A, so I was super have to be responsible with money. And one of the gifts of this particular time in my life is that I've come to a point where I'm like, money's going to come and it's going to go. When you're hung up on worrying about how am I going to pay for this or what's going to happen, you lose so much. You lose your energy. You turn down opportunities. And at a certain point, not just the amount of loss that I experienced at the beginning of this year, but it's also this season that my life is in, and being in my 40s now, I'm like, well, none of that is going to be there. When I die, sure, someone else could inherit it. But what am I going to say? That I made sure that I had everything paid and budgeted for groceries, but I never did take that one trip I really wanted to do?
Yeah, exactly. There's a guy that told me at one point, he said, imagine money as one of your best friend. I was saying to him, like, oh my God, I just don't even want to check my bank account because I'm always scared. I don't want to see it. I want to know. I was like, imagine with your best friend. Would you avoid your best friend? Or would you go check on him? Would you have a relationship with him? Would you be afraid to share it with other? Because it's your best friend. You like this person. You want to share it with other people. It's also brought from a place where I was an artist as a kid. I was a dancer. I wanted to be a dancer. I have my dance school, and people were saying, "Oh, if you want to do a dance life and an artist life, you'll be poor." So I accepted right away. If I want to do what I love, I'll be poor.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, it made an impact in my life until I understood that it was not true. Now, when I pay something, I'm trying to also think about the family I'm going to help. It's like it's a river, it flows. Like right now, I'm in Mexico. So every time I go to the market and I buy some food, I'm paying, and I see this woman with the baby and everything. And I'm like, yes, helping this family right now, so you can see this as really exchange and as a friend that you share with other people, and it becomes kind of a karma bank as well.
I mean, that makes sense, right? It's easy to think of money as this physical thing, but really, money is a form of energy exchange.
It is, yeah.
Your journey spans loss, art, as you mentioned, entrepreneurship, and then your spiritual practice. How do you see the threads of those weaving together to make Melanie?
Yeah. It's funny because I made a post this week about this duality in me, that was this entrepreneur woman that can run businesses and do all kinds of things, but at the same time there's this other woman living in me that's like, I just want to live in the jungle and go away from everything. And two persona inside of me, and I was like, can I dance with the two of them and make them part of my life? And now I've been here it's going to be a year that I took this house in a jungle in Mexico, Oaxaca, and it's really jungly. And when I spend, a few months here and I go back in society, it takes me a day or two to adjust, because everything is frequency. This is, to me, a logical fact. Like when you're surrounded by vibration that are naturally going on their own and have all the nourishment of the planet and free, it's very different frequency than when you go in a city where there's, concrete and there's stress of life and there's more Wi-Fi and there's much more pollution. There's so much energy. The frequency is not the same. So for me, it always takes me a day or two, but I don't think it's like living into the perfect world. I think it's more about the awareness. Now, at the beginning, when I used to transition into different world, I felt affected physically and mentally by it. And now that I understand it more, the awareness allows me to prepare myself for whatever I have to do or whatever I get to do. I always want to mention this because a lot of people in the spiritual world, in the entrepreneur world, in the emotional intelligence world, it's like, I don't really want to go in there because it's complicated. It feels overwhelming. But the thing is, like, we're perfectly imperfect and we're human. What creates a difference is awareness. So when you start to be aware of things, you shift from reaction to relation. So you become in a relationship with your emotion. You become in a relationship to what you actually are living. And you also allow it in the reality that you're feeling. Today, I feel lost. Well, if I'm not aware, I'm going to be reacting to feeling lost. I'm going to be like, why do I feel lost? Oh my God, what's happening? And I'm going to be down or maybe depressed or maybe putting all this pressure on me, or maybe, that it can go really far where I can go in this. But if I'm just like, well, today it's like this. This is what I feel. Let's allow it. Let's feel it all. And let's not make it of a big personal, big deal drama thing. Allow it's a flow, to have its place and to have its expression. But instead of being in the movie, you're watching it, so you become more the observer of what's happening inside of you without it being in reaction. You're in a relationship, because then you can identify what is the emotion you're living, and what can contribute to that, and then tools of life that can help you to support you through this phase. And so this is what I kind of discover through all ancient wisdom and holistic medicine and my practice, and nature is my best teacher. And yeah, it's what I wanted to bring out in the world. Spiritual and the entrepreneur, and at the end of the day, we're a spirit in the body. So we are all in a way spiritual. It's just some of us is not ready to admit it, and some of us are ready to say it out loud. But it looks like some people also made it such a woo-woo weird thing that it's scary for some other people, but it's actually just a natural fact that we are a vibration and we have experience in our body of emotion, of sensation, of every, like there's a roller coaster of feelings that are happening and experience. And it's for us to know, how do we want to dance with it? Do we want to avoid it and do more? Or do we allow ourselves to be and feel to heal and feel to expand?
You brought up feel to heal in your forms too, which I think is such a lovely saying. But like in my experiences teaching any physical practice where you're going to get people in tune with their body, you're going to get them in tune with their breath, there's always a few students who really struggle with that. Like they don't want it. And I hadn't thought about it, how much we can block out what we're feeling, and how does that affect our reality, our perception of things, or just how we experience life, how we're going to move through life.
Okay, so feel to heal. My first experience with this was in Thailand. I found myself very sick and I got to the hospital and there was, a camera inside of me and suddenly there was a tumor inside of me and I was like, whoa, and you need to operate you and everything. And so it was a big deal and I didn't want it to bring any worrying energy. So I kind of kept it more for myself. And then I decided to do all the things I knew on me and all the herbs, all the juicing, all the tools, and then I isolate myself into this room by the ocean and I just decided to start to do this process. But along the way, I was doing all those things. At one point, I kind of stopped and I was like, I'm just going to feel it all. I'm just going to feel everything that this thing is trying to tell me. And I remember just lying down and starting to, realize how I hated this tumor, how I wanted it out and I wanted to be done with it. And to actually just put my hands on me and just started to be like, you know what? You're asking me for your attention right now. To you, I'm going to love you. I'm going to give you all the space you need and you can teach me whatever you want. And when you're ready, you can leave. Or maybe it's you that's taking me with you. I don't know. But right now I know that I just going to let you the space to be and love you. And I started to have like a discussion with myself, with my body, with this tumor, with all of this. It was really interesting process and doing all of the other things on the side. But I realized after 10 days, just before my operation, it was 14 days, at one point I started to feel different. Like if there is a big part of process that was to just allow myself to feel it all. And in this room, there was some laugh, there was some cry, there was some silence, there was all kinds of emotion that passed through. And, it's something sometimes we just don't want to face, but it's actually ourselves that we don't want to face. And it's the most important thing because you don't go in life with anybody else than you. You're with you. So whether you want it or not, you can get dizzy with all the stimulation outside of yourself in the world and just live here, live here, live here, live here. And sometimes life will give you a challenge to come here. And this is an opportunity for you. It might be uncomfortable, but watch out the gift you will get from it. And so for me, that was one of the huge gifts that happened. I got back to the hospital for my operation, and when they put the camera in, there was nothing anymore. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, that was the first big experience I had with self-healing and with feeling and with allowance. And for me, it was a shift. And starting from that moment, I always took time every time something physical would come to me or something challenging mentally would come to me, to just allow it the space to stop everything and to allow myself to feel and to check in with myself. What's really happening here authentically, truly. So to heal, we need to feel. For me, it's a beautiful mantra. Reminds me that I'm with me. And no matter where I want to go, I'm here. And sometimes to just come back and allow it is really important to me.
I'm just like, I can't, I don't know whether I would be brave enough to send my tumor love, Melanie. like, am I brave enough to do that? I don't know. That's amazing. Had they ever seen that before? The tumor just being gone?
I mean, a lot of people live those kinds of experience, and there's so many stories out there of people healing. The thing that you just said here, the courage to love it, I think it comes back to really to really get out of what we have been robotized in. This is bad, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, I'm a victim, I'm not, I'm unlucky, I got sick. No, your body is an intelligence that is protecting you from, all kinds of things. Lately I had a problem with my thyroid, and I gained weight and everything, and it actually, I started to hate the extra weight I had on my body. And one person was like, Mel, this extra weight is there to protect you. Your body's intelligent. You gotta love this extra weight right now. I was like, fuck, you're right. You know? So start to just understand the intelligence of your body, the intelligence of nature. Everything in your body is happening to support you. This is so freaking intelligent. And if you allow it the space to be and allow it to listen to it, because maybe this tumor was something in my body that for a long time was like, hey, I need to tell you, hey, I want to talk to you, hey. And I was like, I don't have time, I don't have to, I want to know, I don't want to know. And at one point it became like a big hey, now you need to listen. At the same time, if we can slowly allow the small hey to be listened to, maybe the big hey won't happen. But when the big hey happened in any way, whatever happened, if I need to die with that thing, if I will survive from that thing, my main goal is to give it some attention, because my body is now trying to save me by a reaction of all kinds of things inside of me. And so my job is to support it, is not to hate what's happening inside of here, because in some ways there's a big responsibility that I have to create it.
What you're talking about resonates with me so much, because I definitely feel the duality in this realm. I grew up fascinated with all things esoteric. I was constantly reading about different religions. I'm an intuitive person. I have a lot of intuition, but I like to study. And so those things have always been at odds. I actually did a blog post about it, watching my niece and teaching her about different flowers in the forest and different medicines that they're used for, and looking at her duality, right? We're out shooting rifles because I come from a redneck family in the woods, and she's in her princess dress with her gumboots on, and I'm teaching her what you can do with these different plants. And I was like, she's like me, but I'm not looking at her, judging her, being like, this doesn't fit. But that's how I've treated myself my whole life. And it's really that with my intuition. This is the only phase of my life where I'm like, no, this stuff is real. And it's funny because before I left my marriage, I think if I weren't thinking about what I thought I should be doing, it would have just been clear that it really needed to end. But I was ignoring that. And what happened was I gained a lot of weight for no reason. And every time I would tell people I was gaining weight for no reason, it was after, it really became apparent after my third child, but I think it was building over time. It's a long relationship. People talk to you like you must be making up that you're not eating so much extra, or you're not being super lethargic, or you're not. Someone even asked me if I was drinking a bunch of alcohol that I wasn't talking about. Like, no one believed that I was just gaining this weight. Fast forward, I leave. And I'm not doing anything different, and all of the weight just starts coming off. And I remember thinking during the time where the weight gain was happening that I knew there was no reason for me to be gaining it, and that I should be listening. But I ignored that because I was like, that's too woo-woo, Coraley. You can't quantify that. And I don't know if I'll ever... I think that was my last lesson in it, because I don't think I'll ever do that to myself again. I'm not talking about like a little bit of weight. It was like a lot of weight. It started to get hard to do things. But your body knowing this environment is not good for you, you need to be moving on from this. Hey, you're not listening, and showing you is amazing. And if you're scientific, you could put that in scientific terms. Yeah. It's your high cortisol. People often
stress and
Yeah, people often think, oh, it's separate. You're either scientific or you're spiritual. But something that really interests me and always has is when you overlay information from old spiritual systems and you look at science and how they really mesh. And you're like, well, how did people back then know about this?
If you think about science in some ways, like science stops where the human can explain things.
Yep.
Right? It's human that makes the research, right? Human that are limited. Yeah. So spirituality goes beyond what human can explain. and there's things like love, not like explain it humanly, mathematically, all crazy, but everybody believes in love,
Yep.
So at the same time, spirituality is just to acknowledge that, there's more than what we can see from our senses or human senses. There's more than that, like frequency, for example. Vibration is everywhere, and it's that you can prove it scientifically. But I mean, the whole thing, what I have to have it proved scientifically. Sometimes I'm like, man, do you not feel love inside of you? Like, just open up to what you feel, to your intuition. It's nothing woo-woo. It's just
Yep.
we need to allow to go beyond just what people tells you. And sometimes, oh, they say that, they say that, they say that. What do you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do it with love too, though, right? Like I fell in love with someone earlier this year that makes no sense. It made no sense. The whole thing made no sense in any life terms, just so many things. And I did that to myself. And I feel bad for saying those things to him. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would you say that to someone you're really in love with, right? It probably made him feel like she's saying there's something wrong with me and she shouldn't be doing this. But, because you can't explain it, you're like, oh, well, you're this, and this, and I'm this, and this, and we live far apart and, whatever it is. But it doesn't have to have, and you don't have to be able to quantify everything, right? We're like that. Humans are like that. We like to put things in little, neat, tidy. It fits here. If it doesn't fit here, I don't like it. And that's, I think, where a lot of our problems start. And that's where we start to dismiss things that we can't explain fully. Instead of just living them.
Try to explain everything that happens in nature. Like, it's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you read the research on time where they released the 2 photons?
Yeah.
And that's been something that's been in spiritual realms talked about forever, that time isn't linear. It's not an A-B point. That's always given me a lot of comfort too. If a relationship ends, if someone passes away, and I think they're just not in this timeline with me, right? They're still existing somewhere else, but having them quantify it is amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, well, why did we need it quantified? And I was talking to my oldest about it, and he was like, why did you say this to me before bed, Mom? Now I'm not gonna be able to sleep because I'm gonna be thinking about it. But that's I think why we needed to quantify it is we don't think in those terms. We don't, It's harder to think about things being this unmanageable, unmeasurable, you can't neat and tidy understand it in your brain.
It's where you're born, where you live, your culture, and so many things. For time for me has been a bit like got lost at one point because I was in Asia and opening my computer. It was 2566. That was the year, and I was like, "Is that a joke?" And then I went to buy a scooter, and then I had my paper in my plate. It was year 2566. That was the year in Thailand, and at home is 2025 right now, and then I would go for a visa run, and I would go in Nepal and then take the newspaper, and it was 2080, and I was like, man, everybody just choose their year. What's going on? Time is just something we're creating. And then studying the Maya calendar, I went into a whole different level, which is all the big mathematician of this world that understood time and space, and how actually time and space makes us age and makes us all these identification we make, and then after there's how you live, so when you live for a long time in a different place. Living for me in Asia was also sitting down more on the ground, my legs crossed, eating with my hand, and then all kinds of small things like this. When I come back to and I'm sitting down on the floor and eating with my hand, for some people I'm a weirdo. But actually eating with my hand creates more enzyme for my digestive system, because my touching the food is naturally in your body a sense that create enzyme. Like your nose, when you smell food, you have more saliva. When you see food, more saliva. When you hear it, when you touch it, more saliva, more enzyme that getting ready to digest the food. So it's healthier. And sitting down on the ground cross-legged, just do all your muscular mass to hold yourself instead of being in the big chair comfortable, big couch comfortable. So it's actually better for you. So there's a lot of things that people see you are like, she's walking barefoot. It's so hippie, sitting on the ground, eating with your hand. It's not okay. In certain society, maybe it's weird, but in other society, it's normal. And actually, maybe it's also healthier. So there's this whole time and space and way to look life, and there's this whole cultural way to do life as well that can make people think, oh, that's spiritual, that's weird, or that's whatever, that's woo woo. But really question it for fun, because it's deeper than this.
Well, and perception is like, I remember having a discussion with my dad, and he said something about someone's accent. And I said, well, your accent probably sounds funny to them. And he was like, I don't have an accent. And I was like, you don't have an accent here, right? But we do that. We tend to think everything that we're experiencing, or what's normal in our culture, what we grew up with, that's what it is supposed to be. And it's really exclusionary. And I think it's unfortunate that most of us don't get to do what you're doing, or don't seek to do what you're doing. Because if you were to go all these different places, you would see that there's a plethora of ways to do things, and to think about things, and to experience things that are different than what you know. Like, what a gift, right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
I know I'm
Wow.
going to edit out a million rights from this, because I feel like I've said right after every question.
So good. Well,
In the Yovita episode, it was like, I was like, how many times did I say the word like? Like. I'd be explaining, and I'd be like, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. I can filter these words. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Like, I mean, for me, I do words and stuff. It's English. It's different. It's my second language. Whatever happened, as long as people understands me. Even my last book, I wrote it down, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop correcting my book, because this is taking a lot of time. And if someone do a painting, he doesn't redo the painting over and over and over and over. At one point, it's the painting. And if someone syntax or orthograph is not nice for them, then just try to go see the message beyond that. So the message beyond this is authenticity here that we're sharing with love. The rest, if the words are not perfect, if the accent's not perfect, if we say like, if we say whatever, it's
Because
beyond.
I'm a writing nerd, I've never actually thought about this, and now I'm disappointed with myself. I never thought about the authenticity of voice being stripped away by the editing process, and you're so correct. You
I
lose your
just put it in a
voice.
book. I'm gonna free myself from it. I'm gonna put it in a book and say this book has not been edited the conventional way. And if you look deeper into the message and the frequency of what I'm trying to share with you, and even the next one, I wanted to do it phonetically. Like, no, no, no.
You're like,
This
I'm
is
taking this all the way. It's happening.
yeah, let's get it out of the comfort zone.
What is the book about?
Vibration. Yeah. All these vibrations. The art of living in tune. The art of living in tune with yourself. And it's just there's a deeper message. And by traveling a lot in the world, I've learned that language is something. At the beginning I was thinking, oh, it's going to separate me sometimes. So I realized that we'd still connect. I could still communicate, and it was just energy, and it was just a smile here, it was just a gesture, it was just silence. Realize, that it's like language is, and the way we write things and the way we express things, word is so limited. Color and energy, and feel it when someone talks to you with love and attention. You feel it
Yeah.
when you feel those things, and that has much more power than anything else. And sometimes I even feel like I want to teach. I want to go. I teach retreats and things, and sometimes I'm like, I actually don't want to go and teach my whole PowerPoint about this. I just want to sit in silence and love people and make them feel what it is to feel each other, instead of saying all these words that are so limited. So the art of living in tune and the whole understanding of frequency for me was just to open up to people to understand it, yes, in a rational way, but to go a bit deeper into it, and to understand that, about frequency and sound. Some people will think, oh yeah, the people that does the gong and the singing bowls and all of these things. Yeah, that's part of it, but you don't need to be doing this to understand that, frequency can enhance your life. Every emotion has a frequency, every organ in your body has a frequency.
It's a beautiful overlay to the book. You're not speaking the book, but that's as close as you're going to get to imprinting your vibration, how you express yourself, to not edit it. My mind is blown. I'm going to be stuck on this forever. The majority of our conversation is not focused on physicality right now. So I guess I'm curious, has your practice evolved into being more mental emotional? Do you see it still as a divine pairing between the two? How does that influence how you teach? And I guess what people are needing to take from the practice, why they're coming to learn these things?
I've teach all kinds of group class for the last 25 years because I just love it. I love being together with people, moving together, sharing that energy. When I studied yoga more deeply, I realized how powerful as a medicine it was. But I also felt it was sometimes stuck into performance instead of exploration. So I teach yoga today, but in a very different way now. I move beyond just the yoga pose and how it needs to look like. And I try to create my own style that is much more feel-oriented, if we can say, or playful. So a yoga class for me is like a co-creation. It's important to me to listen to what people are ready to receive in this moment and to go there with them. So I stopped preparing class a long time ago, understanding that if I want to teach for other, I need to adjust to the energy of the class and not plan all the class for my own self from fear maybe of not being perfect. So I prepared a playlist and then let the collective intuition guide the class, passing through me as a guide.
Where does the name Azaya Yoga come from?
Yeah, it's a beautiful name that has been given to me. So my last name in English is not always well understood because it's so French. So Jolicoeur literally means beautiful heart. In Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest language of Asia, heart is translated as Azaya. So in some countries, my name became Mel Azaya, and I decided to just link it to my brand alongside my original name. But it's a symbol. I don't really define myself from my name. It's more a playful way to work with words and symbols because to be true, I really love to do everything with my heart. So it really works well with it.
The minute you said your last name, I was like, I hope everybody out there listening understands that I could not say it that nicely if my life depended on it. So every time I say your last name, I apologize for how it's going to sound. I don't have the beautiful French accent. I got that the English Canadian twang.
The words are not perfect. If the accent's not perfect, if we say if we say whatever, that's it,
I think I need like a little meditation, a little affirmation that's just your voice for when I get too caught up in myself being like, you are not your car. You are not your job. You are not just a mother. You are.
I have so much respect for mom. Kids are so beautiful and living in the moment with little identification. They simply are in each moment expressing fully, reminding us of this simple way of being that we may have forgotten sometimes in our adult life for mom because it's such a path of devotion. For them to receive this gift, this reminder that everything is already here, right now, and they can choose to play and explore over performance. It's truly beautiful, but it's also a mission, for sure.
You have to let yourself go with them. It's very easy to get caught up in the things you're supposed to be doing or be like, the house looks like a bomb went off. We need to, so you're thinking about all the things you have to do and you're looking around the house and you're like, oh, I got to clean. And then your kid is wanting to play and your adult instinct is to be stuck in your head with all the stuff and want to project that out. You have to pause and I've gotten better at it over the years. I feel like I wasn't as good at it as I could have been. Sorry to my oldest, when he was younger, but you have to give yourself this is an opportunity to just be in this fun energy instead of being caught up with what I need to do. Melanie and I lost service with each other, and then I told her about the card that flew out when I was shuffling for her, which is the Page of Wands. And we were talking about the desert and how wands are a card of action, and that's a card of good news. But since I forgot to hit the record button, we're going to do another one. We're doing another one.
Yay.
All right. The King of Swords. So swords are a suit that is ruled by thought. And this card is about good judgment. It can also be like about being tested in certain ways. Do you have anything going on that's challenging you? No?
Yeah, I do. I do have a few things. Yeah, I'm tested right now. I'm being tested, and it's the first time in my life that I really, really, really in that test express with all my raw vulnerability everything. And so it's really interesting because oftentimes, when you're tested into your biggest trauma, you learn to navigate it in a certain way. And now I'm not navigating it. I'm just expressing everything. I'm not trying to whatever. And no, has to be this way, this way. I'm just expressing all out every second how I feel, what's going on, and with the people that are concerned and everything, and just sharing my heart in the most authentic way. And yeah, it's very interesting how when we are challenged, we sometimes slip into the automatic mechanical defense mode. But instead of staying there, I'm learning to share my reality as it is without judgment. So I understand that we all have different realities based on our past, on our trauma, our perception, and our belief system. And at some point, when you can't look at yourself, observe honestly and allow what is truly there rather than trying to control it or pretend, it creates a completely different experience. So it's incredible how when you do this, you realize that raw truth and authenticity, when expressed with love, always win at the end, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel.
That's such a hard thing to do, but my proudest moments and the moments where I've learned the most about myself, gotten in touch with myself the most, are when I'm faced with something where normally I would react within my wounds, and I'm able to take a moment and not. And it's funny because when I'm going through stuff, I tend to isolate. So like, nah, I'm just going to hang out by myself. But I only get that growth when I'm interacting with people. When you're out there being vulnerable, you're opening yourself up to falling in love or deep friendships. So those are the things that test you.
Everyone carries a different reality.
Yep. Yeah. I talked to my son about that last night too, with the timeline thing. Your perception shifts what reality is.
And it's important that we take the time to really listen to it.
When my kids were little, if they said there was a ghost or a monster, I didn't argue with them, but that actually caused conflict with other parents. I remember my kids saying to another child that they thought ghosts were real, and the parent getting really upset. They're not real. Don't be scared, And I was like, oh, what have I done? But I didn't want to invalidate their experience of it. And I remember how scary it is when you're a kid. When you're a kid and that's going on, you're scared. It's really scary. And like we were talking about before, as humans, the reason I think that we tend to not think that way or not approach things that way is because that doesn't fit in the box. It's a lot harder to accept that it's actually different for this person. It's easier for people to conceptualize if, say, you know someone who has schizophrenia, for example. If you respect that person, you're going to learn about this, and you understand that their hallucinations are very real for them. There's zero value in trying to convince them that they're not seeing what they're seeing. They're seeing what they're seeing. They are seeing it. But we don't do that with other. How many of us know someone who has like a thing like that will fit in our box that we can, and how many people will bother to approach it that way with love and compassion and be like, yeah, they're seeing that. Because people react with fear to things and not being right. So many of us are like, no, I want to be right. This is what happened.
With time, we come to understand that life is not about being right or winning an argument. No, it's about opening to each other's reality, holding space for it, and then discovering together what's the best path moving forward for all of us. And when you can see it as a way, it's almost funny how simple it is, yet how often we forget the simplicity.
I've had to do a lot of growth in that just because, like I said, I'm super type A, but also I'm a self-aware person. And so I was aware that I was very stubborn. And I think I thought that being aware of that would protect me from toxic situations or abuse or being manipulated, but it's the opposite. Because when you're getting to know people, you're vulnerable, you talk to them about the things that aren't as glowy about you. You talk about your shortcomings, your challenges. And if someone who has bad intentions wants to manipulate you, the easiest way to do it is to pick something that you're aware of yourself that you struggle with. So that's been my work over the last while.
I've learned a lot from a very hard toxic relationship I had in the past, probably one of the hardest of my life, where there was physical and mental abuse. But also the man had so many beautiful sides of him, and I wanted to help as he was admitting all. He was not hiding anything, but I got so confused in it, and I lost myself in it. I was thinking, if someone tells me they have cancer, I'm going to stay and help. So if it's mental disease, I want to stay and help. So my thought was I wanted to help, but I didn't know the cost of it. So it became one of the greatest teachers in some way. It pushed me to learn how to truly choose love, but also to choose myself. That was the real lesson here, to fall in love with myself enough and put boundaries. I came to understand that unconditional love does not mean staying in something no matter what. It means that you can also realize some things and love from afar. You can hold compassion for another person, for children involved, or for anyone else involved, without continuing to feed what is unhealthy or destroy you. So life gave me this experience so I could see that every trigger was really an invitation to heal past trauma in me. And it showed me that love expressed with boundaries is still love. In fact, it's deeper because it's honoring both side and yourself. I learned that unconditional love is not about sacrificing your light. It's about choosing to keep shining, even if that means loving someone from distance. So today, this person is in jail. I was asked to do a testimonial as his ex-wife came together to protect their family from him. And it has been a big challenge to go back into these memories. But the more I was thinking about it, at the same time, I saw like all the growth that it brought me. And everything shift into compassion. I could feel now the compassion towards him instead of resentment from all those realizations.
It's a coming back to yourself too, because you aren't a person who operates out of fear and all of those things you were feeling. So in the time where you were processing and you're in that, you're a little bit away from yourself as well. But for me, it felt dangerous to feel my empathy for him for a long time. Thank goodness I had a wonderful counselor who was helping me. But because that's also how I got myself in trouble in terms of going back and accepting excuses. And so it felt like I would never be able to look at things from his perspective and that I was going to be stuck.
I'm not even sure if he will survive this experience. It's a pretty hard one in the sense that he was an ex-policeman that abused women and children. So it's not very welcome into prison, but it's his own experience now. And I truly wish him all the realization that this experience has for him.
That is a really scary situation. It's always a balance for me of he's done the things, and so there's consequences for that. And then when you have the understanding that he probably doesn't even understand for himself why he does these things, or he may even shift reality to fit a narrative that has no basis with what the people he's hurting's experience has been.
At one point, I understood It's an experience he simply had to go through. Nobody deserves to be hurt or to die, but sometimes life has painful lessons for us. And even in that, there is something to learn for everyone. This is the first time I actually share this story online. I never really spoke about it publicly before. But today I feel at peace because compassion has taken place of resentment over anger. Hearing the news of him being in prison confirmed for me that life always puts us where we need to be. There is always a bigger timing, a perfect place, and a reason behind the chaos. So this relationship, no matter how painful, even dangerous at times, because there was a moment where I truly wonder if I would survive that thing. And so from that darkness came a deepest understanding that my life is worth protecting. My boundaries are sacred, and love can only be real when it allows me to shine.
It's interesting to me how, and it's been my experience too, you go through something that you might describe as the darkest time of your life to come out into this more authentic version of yourself where you're capable of embracing the duality of, I feel empathy for this person, but I'm going to uphold my boundaries so that I don't live that experience again. Or, I went through that. I'm going to go live more fully now.
Life wants us to be free from our past trauma. If your wound is, I'm not enough, life will keep sending you this experience to bring you this very feeling. So until you have the chance to step into your true worth, each challenge is an invitation to heal, to finally feel that you are enough. But as long as you resist that realization, the trauma cannot release, and it may be returning in a different form. It may come back in a different form through different people or situations. So freedom comes from the moment where you choose to see your value, to embrace your wholeness, to stop living for the old story or the old version of you.
I think it is an unexpected but important gift out of a scenario like that. Being able to feel the unconditional love and to also give to yourself, like we're talking about. It was a gift falling in love after my last long-term relationship. To not only notice that the things that were told to me that I allowed to be taken in as being wrong with me or being a problem, that those don't exist, but to practice boundaries and self-love. This is all part of the theme of this season of the podcast. That knowing yourself has been the biggest gift of all of my experiences and this phase of my life. I don't think I've ever known myself as well as I do now. And I can't imagine that I would ever go back to allowing other people to fill in those pieces for me. It does not only put you in those scenarios that you need healing from, but it's confusing. It goes back to what you said at the beginning of the interview when you were talking about it being internal. All of the external isn't where it's at, it's internal. And it's really that energy and those lessons. Nobody else has done things exactly as you have had your experience. Not one single person. There's only one you. So if someone listening today was going to take only one thing from our conversation, just one, what would you hope it was?
Go out there and play. Yeah, just go out there and play. Like, let go of being overly serious and allow yourself to explore this human experience without labeling it as if it's right or wrong. See it instead as a journey filled with colors, emotion, ups and downs, all of which help you deepen the most important relationship with yourself. And then that relationship grows. It eventually transforms into a sense of oneness in a relationship with everything. So yeah, let's just go out there and explore.
You can find more of Melanie on her website, www.azaya.love, on Instagram under @mel.azaya, or on Facebook under Azaya. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to us again. And until next time, remember, the truth echoes louder after dark, whispered, unfiltered, waiting to be touched. See you soon.